Hi everyone, this is Niladri Chaudhary, CEO of Excellent India and CEO of Excellent Role Singapore. We are an accredited partner for DevOps Institute and EXIN. Today we will talk about why we need to upskill, why do we need to get into these DevOps courses, the SRE courses, and the security courses. So as per the Upskilling Report 2021 by DevOps Institute, the key finding shows that building DevOps teams from internal resource is what is being practiced. We also see that building a learning culture is very important in the DevOps lifecycle. So 70% of the respondents said that building a learning culture was one of the top DevOps ways of working. Upskilling program development is another finding, and development of DevOps upskilling programs has not accelerated since the last year, which is not a very, very good scene. Human skills development is essential and is another finding of the upskilling report. So we can see that there is many areas where upskilling is going to help. If we have to do our DevOps initiatives correctly, our SRE initiatives correctly, people needs to learn what is the right thing, what is the best way of implementing it. Now, if we see, Gartner predicts that 2022 through 2022, 75% of the DevOps initiatives will fail to meet expectations. Now, why is this happening? This is happening because people are not doing it right. People are only focusing on the tools aspects. Yes, tools are important, but only tools are not. We need to understand the various other concepts that the DevOps is talking about, which when looked at holistically is going to give us the benefit that we are looking for. So we can clearly see the importance of learning. We can see that our organizations are not practicing DevOps correctly, and we need to know that first. So what we need to do is we need to learn the right thing from the right place. Internet has a huge amount of information about DevOps, SRE, security, etc. Not necessarily everything is good, not necessarily everything is right. So we need to get that information first, what is right and what is good. And that requires training to be taken from capable people, practitioners who really understands that when practices the right thing, knowledgeable trainers, and also the best course material. All that is possible and is available with DevOps Institute and the accredited partner like Excellent. Now, the first course that I would talk about is the DevOps Foundation. What I have seen that many organizations or many people have the thought process that I am practicing DevOps for quite some time. Why do I need to get into DevOps Foundation? As I said, we are not practicing everything the right way. We are doing a lot of things which are wrong. So we need to understand what is right and what is wrong the first time. I had a client coming to me. They came to me because they were sending some people to their customer. And their customer in Australia had said that you can send people without the technology knowledge, the tools knowledge. We will train them. But if you send people who are not clear on what DevOps is, the concepts of DevOps, we will send them back. Certain organizations values these a lot, and that is what is happening now. More and more organizations are looking at that they are not getting the benefit that they were expecting by just using some tools, by getting only tools experts. We need to move beyond the tools and see what it actually is. So this DevOps Foundation training will give the idea about the vocabulary, the values and practices, the relationship between the various practices and frameworks like DevOps, Lean, Agile, and ITSM. DevOps actually stands on 3 pillars: the agility for faster delivery, Lean for improving flow of work and removing waste and taking care of identifying and taking care of the constraints, and ITSM, obviously operations, still stands on ITSM practices. Principles of DevOps automation and guidance, nurturing a DevOps culture. We will see all of these. What is important is if we have to do CI/CD, if we have to do continuous delivery, we need to have a cadence across the organization. You cannot have the standard practices which used to be there earlier, where business was thinking in a particular manner, dev was creating more and more products, features, but only few were getting deployed. Because what is the point in doing something where you require it today, you get it after 12 months, 18 months, 24 months? There has to be a continuous flow. There, we need to deliver what business needs today within this time frame only, not after 3 years. And that's why we have more and more being delivered, more and more being deployed. It's not that big chunks of work coming at very large intervals, whereas now it is more and more work at very short intervals. The need has changed. The way that people used to look at is different. Earlier, organizations used to look at a one-size-fits-all kind of approach for everything. But today, customers are not like that. Every persona of customers is looking at getting satisfied with what they need. I use a banking software as a corporate user, whereas somebody else uses it as a salary account, and the third uses it as a means of livelihood, and fourth for investment. Each one has their own requirements which needs to be satisfied. So we need to move into a customized mass production. What we also need to understand is we are not looking at deliverables, we are looking at outcomes. Today, we don't buy songs in CDs and DVDs. We buy musical experience, entertainment experience from Ghana.com or a Spotify.com. We don't use a taxi service. Uber doesn't provide a taxi service. Uber provides a travel experience. And that's why the entire journey, starting from the booking of the cab till we make the payment and get down, everything has to be good enough for what the customer thinks is good. Because value is created only when the customer is using the product or service and generating the expected benefit, not when we are coding, not when we are maintaining a server or a database. We have to keep that in mind. The next is, there is importance that leaders also learn. Leaders need to know what is expected of them and what they should expect of this implementation of DevOps or SRE. So here we will talk about the transformational leadership. How much of unlearning has to be done before we learn new things? Becoming a DevOps organizational designs. We have to have different designs, and that leads to target operating models and organize the organization accordingly. Measuring to learn, measuring to improve, articulating and socializing the vision, and maintaining energy and momentum. We will look at value stream management here. We will look at the transformational leadership who needs to have the vision, and who should be able to give intellectual stimulation to the team to challenge their status quo, have inspirational communication, be a supportive leader, a servant leader, and can give personal recognition for extraordinary work. Security is everybody's responsibility. And security is becoming more and more relevant and an area of concern for most of the organizations. So we need to start learning DevSecOps, and DevSecOps Foundation gives us the knowledge of realizing the DevSecOps outcome. Defining the cyber threat landscape, building a responsive DevSecOps model, integrating DevSecOps stakeholders, establishing the best practices for DevSecOps. DevOps, baking in security in the entire pipeline up to and in production. What is the best practice to get started on learning using outcomes? Even in DevOps handbook, you find the mention of that of DevSecOps or security in each and every aspect throughout the pipeline. If we need to do continuous delivery, we need to learn how to do it properly. Continuous delivery is not just using some tools like Jenkins, Chef, Puppet, and Ansible. We need to understand the various concepts and do it properly We cannot do continuous delivery without continuous integration. We cannot do continuous integration without continuous testing. We cannot do all of these without having loosely coupled architecture and refactoring technical debts. We cannot do this without taking advantage from the newer technologies like cloud and cloud native. So all these has to be looked at in a continuous delivery ecosystem. So we will look at what Mark Hornby created, the 7 pillars of collaborative culture, continuous monitoring, design for DevOps, continuous integration, continuous deployment, continuous testing, and elastic infrastructure. Testing is very, very critical. As I said, that continuous delivery cannot be done without continuous integration, and continuous integration cannot be done without continuous testing. Testing is very, very crucial. If you are having a situation where you are deploying multiple times a day, when the time between the 2 deployments is only 11.6 seconds, you cannot afford to have something bad going to production. And anyway, we know that the later in the day we catch defects, the more costlier it is. So Gartner said that it costs more than 100% if a defect is caught after it goes into production. We want to catch it as early in the day. That is the second way of DevOps, shorter feedback loop. We need to make the testing automated and get all kinds of testing done as early in the day as possible so that the developers gets those feedback at the earliest. So continuous testing foundation talks about what are those newer ways of doing testing. What is the role of a tester? They are not going to be doing testing. They are going to analyze. They are going to improve the testing process, write more test scripts, make changes when what test scripts are being run to ensure that more and more defects are caught at the early stage, not at the later stage. And you can see that DevOps testing is different. DevOps testing is much, much more comprehensive than ITSM testing, agile testing, waterfall testing, as what these frameworks have talked about. So it enhances the overall testing scenario. So why SRE courses? Now that we know the DevOps, SRE courses are important because SREs complement DevOps. Both DevOps and SRE together will be helping us to deliver the best customer experience and outcomes to the business. As per the Catchpoint SRE 2021 report, the highlights are companies don't establish comparative baselines for SRE conditions. Companies are using multi-provider strategy across the board. Artificial intelligence is exciting, but it has not been fully adopted and embraced. SRE should look to expand boundaries of observability so they can become more customer focused. So SRE is becoming more and more important, and it is becoming more and more important to complement DevOps initiatives with SRE. So everyone has to upskill and be ready for the future. SREs need to have both development and operation skills. So there are 2 courses from DevOps Institute, the SRE Foundation and the SRE Practitioner. In the SRE Foundation, you're going to learn what is expected of an SRE role, the SRE principles and practices, the service level objectives and error budgets and error budget policies, and service level indicators, reducing toil, monitoring and service level indicators, and improving it to observability, SRE tools and automation, anti-fragility and learning from failure and moving towards chaos engineering, the organizational impact of SRE and how SRE works with the other frameworks like Agile, Lean, DevOps, ITSM. So as Benjamin Trainer-Slash says, the creator of SRE, that 100% is a wrong reliability target for basically everything. So what we need to do is we need to have more practical targets, and that has to be from the user's point of view. If we are trying to provide a 99.99% availability where my customer is going to use their mobile phone to use the service and the mobile phone provider provides 95% availability, we will never be able to provide more than 95% availability to the customer. So why take the trouble of making it 99.99% in our environment itself? We need to extend to the customer to the end user customer level and see what they are going to get. SRE Practitioner has got launched in July 2021, created by many of the stalwarts of the DevOps and SRE. I'm also one of the co-authors of this practitioner course. Here you will learn in depth actually how to practice SRE in organizations. So we will talk about SRE anti-patterns. How do you make SLO the proxy for your customer? Building security and reliability in your service. How do you implement full stack observability in your product? How do you enhance operational resilience using DataOps and AIOps? SRE and incident response management. Practical practice of chaos engineering. Chaos engineering does not require you to be very mature to start with it. You can start off with chaos engineering and also mature on your chaos engineering journey and implementing SRE as a purest form of DevOps. You can see that from the SRE blueprint of DevOps Institute that we have the plan, the continuous integration, the continuous delivery and deployment and operate. Throughout the life cycle, SRE brings the wisdom of production from the right to the entire level till ideation. So we are talking about culture, toil reduction, SLAs, SLOs, SLIs, measurements, anti-fragility, work sharing, deployments, performance management, incident management. Now that we have the DevOps and SRE part, we already heard from DevSecOps that we need to understand security more. So there are increase in the attacks happening every day. With further use of AI, ML, IoT, data science, there is more vulnerability increasing. As per DevSecOps, security is everybody's responsibility. And as per Google, a system is not reliable if it's not secure. We need to have greater and better understanding and awareness of security. If you see most of us, we will find that from the surveys that 85% of the attacks that are happening today, the vulnerabilities that are there today, are already known to us for at least 1 year or more. That is the kind of scenario. We see that the first of the top 10 OWASP vulnerabilities is injection problem. Injection vulnerability is there as number 1 from 2017. It is already 4 years and nobody has been able to remove it from that number 1 position. That means we are not doing the right things that we need to do for security. So security awareness and training is the least of any organization's priority. We think that having some tools and having a CISO in the organization is good enough. Today, every CXO is concerned about security, but what are we doing about it? The main thing that is required is the awareness, is the training that is required. So security training has to be widespread throughout the IT team, and security has to be baked into the pipeline to production. So we are offering with EXIN this Information Security Officer course. This course consists of 3 stages actually. So you get the Information Security Officer only when you complete the Information Security Management Professional, and along with that Information Security Foundation, and any one of the 3 of Privacy and Data Protection, Business Continuity Management Foundation, and Cyber and IT Security Foundation. Once we get any of these 3 plus Information Security Foundation and Information Security Management Professional, we are going to get Information Security Officer certification. This is a much more comprehensive, taking care of various aspects of security in one place. Even ITIL4 has a specific role called Information Security Officer. So what do you learn in this? You get to understand the information and security, threats and risks, approach and organization, measures and legislation and regulation in your Information Security Management Foundation. In the Information Security Management Professional, you get to understand the information security perspectives from the business side, from the customer and service provider side, risk management in terms of risk analysis, selection of controls, and managing the remaining risks, and information security controls from the point of view of organization control, technical and physical controls. of the choice subjects in Privacy and Data Protection Foundation, we actually learn about the GDPR, Privacy and Data Protection Fundamentals and Regulations, Organizing Data Protection, Practice of Data Protection. Obviously, this is important because we work with Europe. We not only Europe, in other places also, practicing the GDPR kind of practices makes better sense to make it much more secure. Then the Cyber and IT Security Foundation, where you will go a little bit more technical in terms of TCP/IP networking, computer systems, applications and databases, cryptography, identity and access management, cloud computing, and exploiting vulnerabilities. And those who are coming from the production side, from the operation side, you are used to business continuity planning. So here we are going to look at business continuity management from the security point of view. So what is the context of the organization? Leadership, planning and assistance, operation and performance assessment and improvement. This holistically will give us enough information to start on the journey of security and provide a much more secure product to our customers in whatever way we do. So whoever wants to have more information, would like to get into this journey of continuous learning, connect with us, talk to us. We will be happy to help you on this journey. Thank you.